Hi, welcome to October's Her Story. I can't believe how quickly these months are going around. So excited that coming up after I've finished my little babble is the wonderful Claire Beadle with her journey into faith. I'm so excited about every single woman that has shared on this forum because everyone has got something really unique about their own story, their own life story, and how they came to know Jesus. Without Jesus, we do not know God. There's only one way to the Father, the Bible tells us, and that is through his Son. So please enjoy what Claire has to say. Pass it on. If you've got any prayer requests or anything you want to say about it, please contact me or contact the Riverside Church. I know at the moment we're still under a semi-lockdown, so we're not able to meet physically, but I just want to announce in November we're going to have Karen Anderson's Journey into Faith. Now, she is also my boss. She's the most wonderful woman who displays integrity in everything she does, but she's also got a really warm heart and a great sense of humour. So we're going to enjoy November as well. And so that's put you up to date with everything. Please enjoy, sit back with a cuppa or your chosen bevy and enjoy Claire Beadle's Journey into Faith. Bye for now.
Hi there, I've probably just been introduced by Karen, so you should know that my name's Claire. I go to Riverside Church. Some of you probably know me, the people from Riverside that are watching. It is very different doing this on video. I thought it'd be fine. I'm just talking to a phone or iPad and I'll be fine. Better than a live audience, but how wrong was I? This is really nerve-wracking, so just put that out there. But anyway, so I'll start from the beginning and just go over my background with you really. So I grew up in a family with 3 older sisters and mum and dad, and I was always brought up to believe in God, and I was always encouraged to pray by my mum and my sisters, and me and my sister used to share a room and we'd say our prayers at night, really blessed to be brought up in a family that was really loving and really loving mum and dad, and I had a lovely childhood. I went to a C of E first school, so I did learn very basics of the Bible stories, because we always covered Bible stories in assemblies and we went to church services with the school. And then but then middle school and high school weren't C of E, and it quickly diminished after that. I didn't go to church or anything with my family. Occasionally we went to the odd service, but it wasn't like not like I know it to be now. I didn't know what it was like to be I didn't understand what born again meant. I didn't understand all of that side of having a faith. And then when I got into be a teenager and 20s, in the best way to describe it is that I was the furthest away from God probably that I've ever been. And unfortunately, my poor mum and dad had me having had to deal with me, how can I put this, having failed relationships a few times, and by the time I was about 27, I remember thinking, the common denominator here is me, and what's wrong with me anyway. But it was just what it was, and it was really weird though, because I remember thinking that even though I hadn't settled down, I never thought that I never would. It's really weird, that was, because I always remember thinking that one day, I just really thought, I really hoped anyway, that I'd have a family and settle down one day. Never expected it, but I always sort of visualised it and hoped for it. And anyway, and then Scott and I got together, which is strange because we knew each other. We went to high school together and we had these little links along the way. Our families were connected. And looking back now, I think was that God's way of saying, come on. But we never took the nudge. So, for example, my eldest sister taught Dan at French First School, and then my dad taught Debbie to drive, and he taught Scott to drive as well. What else was there? I think that was about it. But I mean, that's three big, pretty good links to the family, isn't it? And then we got together. So we hadn't seen each other for years since school, and then obviously not long after we got together, I realised that Phil and Debbie were Christians, and I always remember that really intrigued me, because I always had this sort of how do I put it? You can tell I haven't planned this, can't you? Sorry. I'm doing it a bit off the cuff. I had a preconception of people who went to church, and I just, it wasn't Phil and Deb, basically. And I just remember thinking, okay, so they go to church and they're Christians and they've got a faith. And I was just really intrigued, and I wanted to know more. And I would ask Debbie questions over and over again, and she'd answer them, and I just got more and more curious. And then eventually, it wasn't that long really, about 6 or 7 months later, I went to a service with Tony Hyams, and I got saved, and didn't really understand much about it, but I was like a sponge. I just wanted to learn and know more and more and more. And I went to a nurture group with Angela Clark and Mary Pryor, and I always remember really enjoying learning more and more about the Bible and what it meant to be a Christian and the gospel. And then it was a real shame, because not long after that, really not long after that at all, somebody, they're not around now, but somebody at the time gave me some advice that I hadn't necessarily asked for, but it was given to me anyway, about how I was living with somebody, and I wasn't married. I was engaged to be married, but I wasn't married, and he wasn't a Christian, and that would have, it was just, I was given this advice that it wasn't the right thing, and I felt like I had to make a choice between Scott and my faith. I'm not suggesting that person said that outright, but that's how I was made to feel. And it was really hard for me, because I was just starting out on my path as a Christian, and I was faced with that. And I know now, looking back, that if I'd have really pursued my faith and really done what I believe that God would want me to do, I wouldn't have been able to stay with Scott. So I admit that I sort of turned away from God a bit then, because I panicked. I was really worried, really, because it was like a ticking time bomb. It was something like December, and the following August I was due to marry Scott. And and I just remember thinking that it's not going to happen. He's not going to become a Christian before then. And I realised that I just edged away a bit from everything. Anyway, so we got married, had children, life went on. And then I know when it was around like when my dad died, really. I lost my dad in May 2016. And around just before he died, George Miller would go and pray with my dad, and pray over him, because my dad had cancer and a brain tumour, and George also came to see me and Scott at the same time and talk to us, and I know that I was coming closer back to like having my faith again. And in the blur of like losing my dad, I know that I realise, because I don't think I really realised it at the time, Scott started coming to church as well with me, and I didn't even sort of, it was weird, because by that point it was almost like, I don't mean I'd given up on it, but it it got to the point where I just thought, oh, you know, if it's going to happen, God, you're just going to have to do it. Like, I think you're going to have to take hold of it. I think I'd sort of given it to God a long time ago and not given up, just thought it'll happen when it happens. And it was almost like I knew deep down that God doesn't do things just with a click of a finger. And you know, God's timing is perfect, and that's always been a real thing for me about God's timing. Anyway, so the next thing I know, I get resaved, is that a term? Born again. And then so does Scott, and then we both get baptised together in April 2018, and it was amazing, really, because it was just, it was strange that all those years ago it's what I wanted, and then it happened, and it just felt so right. And I feel as though God thought, you know what, it's okay. It's not okay, but I don't mean it's okay to come away from God, but it was almost like because God knew what was going to happen. I almost feel like that's why I stayed with him, because I don't know. Maybe I'm talking in riddles. I know what I'm trying to say, but anyway. And speaking of timing, it's really interesting actually, because a few months ago Karen said to me, oh, I'd like you to do her story. And she said, would you, no, it was a few weeks ago actually. Oh, no, sorry, start again. It was about 3 months ago, and she said, oh, I'd like you to do yours maybe at the beginning of next year. And I said, oh yeah, no, that's fine. And then about 3 or 4 weeks ago, she texted to say, would you be able to do her story for October? And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. But it was really strange because around the same time, I've had what I call like another little renewal, like in my heart. And I'm sure this is totally normal for all you old Christians out there. I don't mean old as in age, I mean old as in down the path. And I was talking to Mary Pryor the other week, and I said it's really funny because it feels like a real cliche when people say, oh, you're on a journey. You know, it's a journey, and you think, yeah, I understand it's a journey, but oh, it sounds a bit cringy. But it's the first time I really felt like that for me, because it's like I look back and I thought, hang on a minute, this is really strange, because I can feel another development coming on. It was almost like and Mary described it as an onion layering. She said you either it's like having a layer taken off or a layer put on, whichever way you want to look at it. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly how I feel, because I feel as though I feel a bit emotional about it actually. It's like I heard the gospel again with a new, like just like a renewed fire in my heart and a new passion. And I feel like really feels like God's shining a light. It's like he's got the brightest torch in the world, and I feel like it's being shone on me, and it's showing up everything that I'm doing wrong, that I'm thinking wrong, that I'm doing, thinking, acting, everything. And I feel really convicted with everything I'm doing at the moment. And that doesn't mean that I've got this light shone on me, so it's showing all the bad things, so I'm correcting them and now I'm perfect. Obviously not, because we all know that, you know, we can't be, because we're all of a sin nature, and we're not, you know, the only perfect person is Jesus. But it really is making me feel really strongly about continually really repenting, you know, every day. I have these constant sort of prayers in my head with God saying, I'm sorry, you know, that I can't, you know, I shouldn't be doing that, or I'm not going to do that. I know I can't do that, and I know I can't think that way, or whatever. But and that's why I thought it's really interesting that Karen asked me earlier, and she planned to, because she has no idea that I'm feeling like this right now. but God does, and that's why, obviously, I don't know why Karen's asked me now, but something's happened, which has made her ask me, and it's strange, and but it's really good. It's a good strange. It's not like it's just really, really positive, and it's almost as though God's preparing me for my next little phase with the coffee shop, and that's not a plug, by the way. It's just that it's all about to happen there, and it's almost like God's saying to me, if you're going to try and shine a light, try and sort of show my love through you to the community of Bewdley and beyond, you've got to be seen to be trying to do the right thing. You can't be perfect, and nobody can be, like I said, but you've got to at least try, Claire. Come on. And I just feel as though it's all sort of, and it's weird because it's not connected to the cafe. It's not about the coffee shop. It's just really weird how it's all happened at the same time. But again, it's not weird because it's God's timing. God's timing is perfect. Funny enough, there's and I was reading some scripture the other week, and it really stood out to me. And it's Philippians 2, verse 12, and it's, therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And it just really stood out to me that it was like, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And it's, the word continue means all the time. It doesn't stop. And that also implies that we're continually failing him and probably doing the wrong thing, not intentionally. I'm not suggesting that we can go out there, do something wrong and then go, it's okay, we can just say sorry, but it's impossible when you've got a sin nature. It's just one of those things that we naturally, whether it be some much better than others at it, I'm sure, but it's just really difficult, isn't it, to continually try and be like Jesus wants you to be. As much as that's what I'd love to do, it's really hard. And I think it's like I've suddenly realised so many things that that somebody said. People say it's really hard to be a Christian, and I thought, is it really? And now I'm like, yeah, it is. It's really hard because you're continually trying to be the best you can be. But what is so nice about that, though, is that's why the gospel is so amazing, because that, trying to be perfect, can either make you feel really, really worried, or it can make people sometimes think, well, I'm all right, I'm doing it okay. But the gospel's like, well, you don't need to worry, because that's why I gave my son. And God's saying that's why I gave my son to die on the cross, because I did that as the ultimate sacrifice, so that you could be reconciled with God. And I just think when I start to worry about when I start to worry too much, because I think sometimes it'll keep me awake at night thinking, I'll go through all the things that happened that day. If I've shouted at the kids a bit too shoutily or quickly, or if I've snapped at Scott or something, I lie there and I think that's not how a Christian should act. And then I think, I've just got to keep focusing on Jesus. Just got to keep focusing on the cross and look to him. And it's almost like, it's not, as much as I've said, you've got to try and do the best you can. It's not even about me. It's about him. He is sovereign. He's the king, isn't he? So it's just, it's like I've had, my journey has gone deeper, 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 and I'm sure, and I hope it'll go deeper again. And that's where I'm at the moment in 2020. That's where I'm at, and it's a bit short and sweet compared to the others, but I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for listening, and thank you to Karen for asking me.